Bullies mocked the quiet new kid. They had no idea he was an elite fighter. The autumn leaves scattered across the courtyard of Westridge High School as 15-year-old Ethan Chen made his way through the front entrance, his eyes fixed on the worn-out map in his hands. It was his third day at the new school, and he still couldn't navigate the sprawling campus without getting lost at least twice. Being 5'6" and slightly chubby, with oversized glasses that constantly slid down his nose, Ethan was trying his best to blend into the background, a skill he had perfected over years of moving from town to town due to his father's work. What his new classmates didn't know, couldn't possibly know, was that behind Ethan's unassuming exterior lay 8 years of intensive Muay Thai training. Back in Thailand, where his family had lived until 2 years ago, Ethan had trained under one of the most respected fighters in Bangkok. His father, an international business consultant who specialized in Asian markets, had enrolled him in classes at age 7, believing that a boy should know how to defend himself. What had started as a father's precaution had blossomed into Ethan's passion and eventually his expertise. But that was a different life. Here in Westridge, Massachusetts, Ethan was simply the new Asian kid who wore the same 3 hoodies on rotation and kept to himself during lunch. "Hey, calculator!" the voice echoed down the hallway as Ethan tried to locate his algebra classroom. He didn't turn, hoping the voice wasn't directed at him, though he knew better. "I'm talking to you, math boy." A tall, broad-shouldered junior named Derek Sanders swaggered toward him, flanked by his 2 constant companions, Patrick Walsh, a lanky redhead with a permanent sneer, and Zach Turner, a stocky wrestler who seemed to take pleasure in cracking his knuckles whenever he spotted a potential target. Derek was Westridge's self-appointed king, the star quarterback whose father's donations had bought a new gymnasium for the school. His popularity was matched only by his cruelty, which he exercised with impunity thanks to his status and family connections. "Are you deaf or something?" Derek shoved Ethan's shoulder, causing him to drop his map and stumble back against the lockers. The hallway quieted as students paused to watch. "I heard you aced Mr. Peterson's pop quiz yesterday. Pretty sure that means you owe me answers for tomorrow's test." Ethan's heart raced, but not from fear. It was the same rush he used to feel before a fight, adrenaline flooding his system, time slowing down as his senses sharpened. He took a measured breath and bent down to pick up his map, refusing to meet Derek's gaze. "Sorry," he mumbled. "I don't have the answers." Derek exchanged amused glances with Patrick and Zach. "Did you hear that, guys? Seems like our new friend doesn't understand how things work around here." Patrick laughed, a high-pitched sound that grated on Ethan's ears. "Maybe we should educate him." Ethan could feel the weight of dozens of stares. Among them was Emily Rodriguez, who sat next to him in English class and had been the only person to offer him a genuine smile since his arrival. Now she watched, with wide eyes, her textbooks clutched to her chest, saying nothing. "Just walk away," Ethan reminded himself. "New school, new start." His father's words echoed in his mind. "Your training is for protection, never for aggression. A true fighter knows when not to fight." Moving to America had been a fresh beginning for their family after the incident at his previous school in California, an incident that had forced them to relocate again and had prompted Ethan's promise to keep his abilities hidden. So instead of reacting, Ethan simply sidestepped the trio and continued down the hallway, his shoulders hunched as if to make himself smaller. "This isn't over, new kid," Derek called after him. "You can't hide forever." And he was right. Over. The next 2 weeks, Ethan became Derek's favorite target. It started small, knocking books from his hands, accidentally spilling chocolate milk on his backpack in the cafeteria, spreading rumors that Ethan had failed out of his previous school. But as Ethan continued to avoid confrontation, Derek's tactics escalated. In the boys' locker room before gym class, Ethan found his clothes soaked in the shower. During lunch, a foot appeared from nowhere to trip him, sending his tray clattering across the cafeteria floor to a chorus of laughter. His locker was defaced with crude drawings and slurs about his ethnicity. Through it all, Ethan maintained his composure, though the effort cost him. Each night he would return home to the small apartment he shared with his father, retreat to his room, and silently go through his training routines. Shadow boxing, precision strikes against his worn punching bag, the disciplined movement of his body, a refuge from the chaos of his days. His father noticed the darkening circles under Ethan's eyes, but didn't press when Ethan insisted everything was fine. After what had happened in California, KIDt was hesitant to intervene, hoping his son would find his own path. "Remember who you are," was all he would say over their simple dinners. "Inside where it matters." At school, Ethan found small moments of peace in the library during lunch period. where he could hide among the stacks and lose himself in books about martial arts history or physics, his other passion. It was there that Emily found him one day, her approach so quiet that he didn't notice her until she sat down across from him. "You know, no one would blame you if you stood up to him," she said, without preamble. Ethan looked up from his book on quantum mechanics, startled. "What?" "Derek," she clarified, though she didn't need to. "Everyone knows he's terrible, but no one does anything because of his dad. The teachers look the other way, and the principal, well, let's just say the Sanders family name is on half the plaques in this school." Ethan closed his book slowly. "Why are you telling me this?" Emily shrugged, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. "Because you're different. You don't seem scared of him, just patient, like you're waiting for something." The observation was unnervingly accurate, and Ethan felt a flutter of panic. Had she somehow guessed? "I'm not waiting for anything," he said too quickly. "I just don't want trouble." Emily's eyes held his for a moment longer than was comfortable. "Right. Well, just so you know, not everyone here is like Derek and his minions." She stood, adjusting her bag on her shoulder. "Some of us would actually like to see someone stand up to him for once." As she walked away, Ethan found himself wondering if there was another way, one that didn't involve either passively accepting abuse or revealing the very skills he'd promised to keep hidden. The following Monday, things reached a breaking point. Ethan was changing after gym class when Derek and his friends cornered him in the locker room after everyone else had left. Patrick stood guard by the door while Zach blocked the other exit. "You've been dodging me, calculator," Derek said, his voice eerily calm as he advanced on Ethan. "I don't like being ignored." Ethan backed up until he hit the wall of lockers behind him. "I'm not ignoring you," he said, struggling to keep his voice steady. "I just want to be left alone." Derek's laugh was cold. "See, that's not how this works. You don't get to decide, I do." He reached out and flicked Ethan's glasses, hard enough to make them skew painfully against his nose. "And I've decided that you need to learn some respect." Something inside Ethan shifted then, a realization that this would never stop, that no amount of patience or avoidance would deter Derek. For a brief moment, he considered what would happen if he fought back, if he showed these three exactly what he was capable of. The temptation was almost overwhelming, but then he remembered the look of disappointment on his father's face the last time he'd lost control, the transfer paperwork, the hushed conversations about finding somewhere new to start over. He couldn't do that to his father again. So when Derek's shove came, sending him crashing into the lockers, Ethan simply took it, the metal digging painfully into his back. "Nothing to say," Derek taunted, delivering another shove. "Come on, calculator, show us what you're made of." Patrick snickered from his post by the door. "Probably nothing but pudding based on how he looks." The third shove was harder, and Ethan felt the anger rising within him, a dangerous tide he fought to contain. "Please," he managed, "just leave me alone." "Or what?" Derek leaned in close, his breath hot against Ethan's face. "What are you gonna do about it, huh?" The bell rang, signaling the start of the next period, and Derek reluctantly backed off. "This was just a warm-up," he warned. "Tomorrow, bring your wallet. Consider it your friend tax, unless you'd prefer we continue this conversation." As the three bullies swaggered away, leaving Ethan alone in the locker room, he slid down to the floor and removed his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose to stem the tears of frustration that threatened to fall. "I can't keep doing this," he thought. "Something has to change." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He paced his room, going through his forms, each movement precise and controlled, despite the turmoil inside him. When his father knocked lightly on his door at midnight, Ethan wasn't surprised. "I heard you moving around," KIDt said, leaning against the doorframe. His face, lined with the wisdom of his 53 years, was soft with concern. "Want to talk about it now?" Ethan sank onto his bed, suddenly exhausted. "It's happening again, Dad." His father nodded slowly, entering the room to sit beside him. "The bullying." "Yeah." Ethan stared at his hands, hands that could break boards, hands that knew exactly how to incapacitate an opponent, with minimal effort, hands that now felt useless. "I've tried everything you told me. Walking away, staying calm, not engaging, but it's getting worse." KIDt was quiet for a long moment. "After what happened in California, I was afraid. Afraid that your training had become a weapon rather than a shield." He placed a weathered hand on Ethan's shoulder. "But perhaps I've been wrong to ask you to deny such a fundamental part of yourself." Ethan looked up, surprised. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that there is honor in defending yourself, Ethan. True honor, not in seeking conflict, but in refusing to be a victim when conflict finds you." His father's eyes, so like his own, held a mixture of concern and resolve. Just remember what Master Suvit taught you about the 3 questions. Ethan nodded, recalling the lessons from his old trainer in Bangkok. Before engaging in any fight, a true martial artist asked themselves 3 questions. Is this necessary? Is my response proportional? Can I stop when the threat ends? I don't want to move again, Ethan admitted quietly. His father sighed. Nor do I. But more importantly, I don't want you to lose yourself, either to fear or to rage. Find the middle path, son. The next day, Ethan walked into school with a strange sense of calm. He had made no decisions, formed no plans, but somehow his father's permission to be true to himself had lifted a weight he hadn't realized he'd been carrying. The morning passed without incident, but as lunch period approached, Ethan knew what was coming. Derek had made it clear that today was collection day for his friend tax, and he would be looking for Ethan. Sure enough, as Ethan made his way to the cafeteria, he spotted Derek and his friends waiting by the entrance, scanning the incoming crowd. The moment Derek spotted him, a predatory smile spread across his face. Ethan considered turning around, finding another place to eat, but something inside him rebelled at the thought. No more running. As he approached, Derek stepped directly into his path. There he is, my favorite walking calculator. Got something for me? Around them, conversations quieted as students sensed the confrontation brewing. From the corner of his eye, Ethan spotted Emily at a nearby table, watching with concern. No, Ethan said, his voice steadier than he'd expected. I don't have anything for you. Derek's smile faltered slightly. Maybe you didn't hear me correctly yesterday. This isn't optional. I heard you, Ethan replied, maintaining eye contact despite the nervous flutter in his stomach. And I'm saying no. A hush fell over the nearest tables. No one said no to Derek Sanders. It simply wasn't done. Derek's face darkened as Patrick and Zach moved to flank Ethan, cutting off potential escape routes. You know, Derek said, his voice dangerously low, I've been pretty gentle with you so far, but it seems like you need a real lesson. He grabbed Ethan's tray and dumped it on the floor, the crash of plastic and splatter of food drawing gasps from onlookers. When Ethan didn't react, Derek stepped closer, invading his personal space. Nothing. To say, calculator? No clever comeback, or are you just too stupid to realize what's happening here? Ethan took a deep breath, centering himself the way Master Suvit had taught him. I know exactly what's happening, he said quietly. You're insecure and compensating by picking on someone you think is weaker than you. The cafeteria went completely silent. Derek's face flushed a dangerous red as titters of surprise rippled through the watching crowd. What did you just say to me? Derek snarled, grabbing Ethan by the front of his hoodie. Ethan didn't resist the grip, but he didn't cower either. I asked you to leave me alone, you didn't. What happens next is your choice, not mine. Something in Ethan's tone, the absolute certainty in it, made Derek hesitate for a fraction of a second, but then Patrick urged him on from behind. Are you going to let him talk to you like that? That was all it took. Derek pulled back his fist, aiming for Ethan's face. You're dead, Chen. Time seemed to slow as Ethan watched the fist approach. Is this necessary? Yes. Is my response proportional? It will be. Can I stop when the threat ends? Yes. With a fluidity that surprised even himself after months without practice, Ethan shifted his weight, redirecting Derek's momentum while simultaneously extracting himself from the bully's grip on his hoodie. Derek's punch met empty air as Ethan stepped aside, causing Derek to stumble forward awkwardly. Gasps and murmurs erupted from the watching students. No one had ever seen anyone move like that, certainly not the quiet, chubby new kid. Derek recovered quickly, his embarrassment fueling his rage. Lucky dodge, he spat, advancing again with Zach and Patrick moving to surround Ethan. What happened next would later be recounted with increasing exaggeration throughout Westridge High. As Derek lunged again, Ethan moved with the practiced precision of someone who had spent thousands of hours honing his craft. He didn't throw a single punch. He didn't need to. Instead, he used Derek's own force against him, a simple redirection that sent the larger boy sprawling onto a cafeteria table, scattering trays and drinks. When Zach charged from the side, Ethan seemed to anticipate it before it happened, sidestepping at the last moment so that Zach crashed into Patrick. The 3 bullies ended up in an undignified heap on the cafeteria floor, surrounded by spilled food and broken dishes. The cafeteria erupted in shocked laughter and scattered applause. Derek scrambled to his feet, his face a mask of humiliation and fury. You're dead, Chen, you hear me? Dead. He charged again, this time with real intent to harm. Ethan stood his ground, and only when Derek was upon him did he finally use his training offensively. A lightning-fast sweep that took Derek's legs out from under him, followed by a controlled takedown that left the bully pinned on his back, Ethan's forearm across his chest. "I asked you to leave me alone," Ethan said quietly, his face inches from Derek's. "I'm asking again. Please stop." Derek struggled futilely against the hold, his eyes wide with disbelief. How is this happening? How was the quiet, pudgy kid in glasses completely controlling him? "Ethan Chen." The sharp voice of Principal Harrington cut through the chaos. "Release Mr. Sanders immediately." Ethan complied instantly, stepping back. With his hands raised to show he meant no further harm, Derek scrambled to his feet, his face contorted with rage and embarrassment. "He attacked me," Derek shouted, pointing at Ethan. "Did you see what he did? He's some kind of crazy kung fu freak." Principal Harrington's stern gaze moved between the two boys. "My office, both of you, now." As they were led away, the cafeteria erupted in excited chatter. Ethan caught Emily's eye as he passed her table. She was looking at him with an expression of complete amazement and something else he couldn't quite read, possibly respect. In the principal's office, Derek's story quickly fell apart. Many witnesses had seen him initiate the confrontation, and several teachers admitted that they'd been aware of his bullying tendencies, but had felt pressured to look the other way because of his father's influence. When Mr. Sanders himself arrived, blustering about lawsuits and demanding Ethan's expulsion, he was confronted with video evidence from students' phones showing his son as the clear aggressor. Furthermore, Principal Harrington said with unexpected backbone, "I've received no fewer than 12 reports of your son's bullying behavior just since this meeting began. It seems Mr. Chen's stand has inspired others to come forward." Mr. Sanders deflated slightly, his legal threats losing steam in the face of overwhelming evidence. "Well, Derek has been under a lot of pressure with football. Perhaps there's been some misunderstanding." "The only misunderstanding," KIDt Chen said calmly from his seat beside Ethan, "was the belief that my son would remain a victim indefinitely." In the end, both boys received detention. Derek for bullying, Ethan for fighting, even in self-defense. But as they left the principal's office, the dynamics had irrevocably shifted. Word of Ethan's abilities spread through the school like wildfire. By the next morning, the story had grown to mythic proportions. Some claimed he was a secret UFC fighter, others that he had trained with ninjas. The truth, when it came out that he was a legitimate Muay Thai practitioner who had competed at junior levels in Thailand, was almost disappointing in comparison to the rumors. Derek and his friends gave Ethan a wide berth after that day. The initial talk of revenge faded quickly when it became clear that the new kid possessed skills far beyond anything they could handle. More surprisingly, other bullies around the school seemed to reconsider their behavior, unsure if their targets might also be hiding unexpected talents. For Ethan, the change was dramatic but not entirely comfortable. Students who had previously ignored him now wanted to sit with him at lunch. Boys asked him about his training, and a few even expressed interest in learning. Girls who had never spared him a glance now found reasons to talk to him between classes. "You're like a celebrity now," Emily commented as she joined him in the library a week after the incident. "How does it feel?" Ethan shrugged, genuinely unsure. "Weird. I never wanted attention." "But you wanted respect," she pointed out. "I wanted to be left alone," he corrected her. "There's a difference." Emily studied him thoughtfully. "You know, most guys would have beaten them to a pulp, given the chance. You could have, couldn't you?" Ethan nodded reluctantly. "Probably, but that's not what my training is for." "So what is it for?" The question gave him pause. "Balance," he said finally. "Control. Knowing you can defend yourself if you need to, but having the wisdom not to, unless absolutely necessary." Emily smiled, a genuine expression that reached her eyes. "That's actually pretty cool, Ethan Chen." In the weeks that followed, Ethan found a new equilibrium at Westridge High. The celebrity status gradually faded, but the respect remained. He started a small, unofficial martial arts club that met after school, teaching interested students about discipline and self-control as much as techniques. Derek transferred to a private school across town, his father's decision, officially for academic reasons, though everyone knew the truth. Most importantly, Ethan no longer felt the need to hide who he was. His grades improved as he stopped worrying about drawing attention, and he even joined the physics club, where his passion for quantum mechanics found an outlet. One evening, as he and his father shared dinner, KIDt asked, "Do you think you made the right choice?" Ethan considered the question carefully. "I think I finally understood what Master Suvit meant about fighting only when necessary." It wasn't about avoiding conflict at all costs. It was about recognizing when standing your ground is the right thing to do. His father nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "You've grown wiser than your years, son." "I had a good teacher," Ethan replied, returning the smile. "Actually, two good teachers." As autumn gave way to winter, the incident in the cafeteria became just another school legend, something to be recounted to new students with increasing embellishment. But for Ethan, it remained a turning point. The day he stopped running from who he was and found the strength to be himself, fully and without apology. He had discovered that true power lay not in the ability to fight, but in the wisdom to know when to stand firm and when to walk away. And in that knowledge, he had found a freedom that no bully could ever take away. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Before we begin today's story, I'd like to ask for your support by subscribing to the channel. Your subscription is very important to us, so please subscribe to support us. Also, leave a comment letting me know which city you're watching from. Now let's get into the case.